Not forget that with the tragic return of not only the Bibas children, but the severe mishap with the remains of Sherry Bibas, Israel also received the remains of 83-year-old Oded Lifshitz. And joining us now in studio is Daniel Lifshitz, the grandson of Oded, who has been really tirelessly being very active with the rest of the hostage families, but you have really gone nonstop, and I'm sorry for you to have to be here under these circumstances. First of all, how are you and your family holding up?
It's very hard. It's a huge mix of emotions. Of course, yesterday after the release of the 6 hostages, it's not the end of the road when all the hostages are coming back. We were again kind of the first ones to get, like my grandma, and now my grandfather in a coffin as part of an agreement. So we knew it was, we feared that it will be the situation. We hoped for something else. We hoped for him to come back on his both feet. But, in these 3 weeks, for me personally, came back Arbel Yehud, Sagid Ekelchen, and now my grandfather, and I would never change that. And my grandmother is very happy that they came back. And,
how has she been able to, survive all of these months with all of this unknown?
She had a big roller coaster, because for her, when she was kidnapped, she thought my grandfather was murdered, because he was just on the ground, on the backyard of the cactus garden, the 64 years old amazing cactus garden. And he was wounded because he was shot 2 bullets in his arm, his hand, and he was unconscious. Then when she came back, we all thought he was murdered for about almost 40 days. And 2 hostages that saw him in Gaza, that came back on the first agreement, told us that when he got to Gaza, they heard him shouting, Yochke, Yochke, where is Yochke, where is Yochke? He was very worried about her. Ada Sagi said that he was conscious, he was bleeding, he had a white galabia on him. They took the bullets out of his hand. And then he was with Hana Katzir in captivity, in an apartment in Khan Yunis for about, what we know now is about 3 weeks, 20 days. So it's about 3 days after my grandmother was released, when he felt bad. He probably fainted. The terrorists took him, and probably that is the day when he was murdered. And I mean, he was murdered because he didn't get the treatment he should get. But it was 3 days after my grandmother was released, and I assume as he was in an apartment, maybe he got the information that she's fine. And
does that give you some comfort to know that he was potentially alive, to find out that she was released?
Yes, it gives me a relief to know that he didn't suffer 500 days.
Yes.
It's horrible to think that an 84-year-old man, great-grandfather, suffered for 3 weeks there. He was miserable. He got 2 bullets in his hand, and then he was dragged at home. And with all of that, and with all the rage and the pain, and that we know now that we want revenge, and suddenly we see what's going on with the Bibas family being murdered by hands, and all the awful things. Those awful things also happened on October 7, and we have to remember that. But now we have a narrow window of opportunity to bring back all the hostages. And when we have all the hostages at home, it will be much easier for us to eradicate Hamas. We will have all the ability to do whatever we need to do. And I think that was what my grandfather would tell you now, because he is a warrior of peace. He fights for peace. He's a peace activist.
He was living there, bringing people back and forth for medical care. I mean, this is something we have to keep reminding our viewers. I mean, a lot of those of you that are there along the Gaza envelope were there because you wanted coexistence and peace. Do you think, knowing what he knows now, it would have changed his, decades of service?
So as I said, as it's a little bit as President Trump, I call him as well a warrior of peace. My grandfather knew that wars are evident, but they are evident to get to a point when you achieve a result. His problems with the war of Israel and Hamas before this war was that at each one, it ends in a draw. It's not ending with a victory, and we are not eradicating Hamas. And in the end of the last one, on top of that, we're starting to fund Hamas and give money to the terrorists there. So he was one of the biggest fighters against Hamas. He was also a great peace activist, as we said. But so what I'm saying that now he will come to the point to say, you know, we fought to a certain point. Now we can bring all the hostages back home. And after we can do whatever we need to do with Hamas. And we can have all those options with blocking the humanitarian aid, which have a long expiry date. We will send only a short expiry date, humanitarian aid, so Hamas will have to give it to the people. If not, he's starved them. He can't say other thing. We will block all the money go there. So we dry them out. Another way to do it, because it's so complicated. People don't know what to do now. We want all the hostages back. We want to kill Hamas. So even Hamas staying in Gaza can be an advantage for start to eradicate them completely. And from the other side of the peace activism and everything, he said always, you know, from '84 he came there and he said, the only way for us to have coexistence and the right way for a two-state solution will be their proper education. So if they will have a proper education, we will not suffer all the time from that.
It's just such a terrorizing cycle. We only have 30 seconds. So again, you haven't had the funeral yet for your grandfather. You have plans for the funeral, and I mean, the funeral, it's going to be private, yeah? So
the funeral will be open to the public. It will be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. in Kibbutz Nir Oz. And as well, as I know, we have so many audience here which are coming from the diaspora. We will send a Zoom link as well.
Oh, amazing. We'll make sure to post that. Thank you very much for being here under the circumstances, and thank you for watching